So maybe you've been trying to make a change in your dating and your relationship life for quite some time, but you weren't quite sure what it takes to make that change happen. Today we're going to talk about the formula of change, and we're going to look at the exact elements that are required for change to occur. You will learn why you haven't been able to find a girlfriend or a life partner who's right for you, and what to change in order to make that happen. The first element that's required for any change in any area of your life to occur is a degree of dissatisfaction regarding your current life circumstance. That's pain. It's the old adage. One of the biggest drivers that motivates us to change something is dissatisfaction. It's pain. You are dissatisfied with how things are currently. And for you, that might be the fact that you do Netflix and chill by yourself. Probably not even the chill part, just the Netflix part. You're cooking for yourself, falling asleep by yourself, waking up by yourself, walking around town by yourself. Maybe it's the fact that girls are leaving you unread, whatever it is, yada, yada, yada. You know the degree of dissatisfaction in your life. Now, when it comes to all the elements that we're going to be exploring in this formula today, you can tweak them. The more you bring them up, right, the more you intensify them, the higher your motivation for change, the higher the likelihood that change is going to occur in that specific area in your life. Now, the challenge with pain, with using pain as a motivator, or first of all, I should say that pain is a fantastic motivator, because we hear it frequently. People smoke and then they go to a doctor after having a heart attack, and the doctor tells them, if you keep smoking, you're going to die. That has a massive neurological impact on their well-being, and they completely reassess their entire life. In other words, they associate pain, dissatisfaction regarding the current life circumstance, and they're able to make a change. Pain is incredibly useful. If you can learn to harness the pain that you're currently experiencing in your life, you will be much more able to make the change that's necessary. Because, remember, in order to find a girlfriend or life partner who's right for you, you have to change communication, you have to change habits, work is required, okay? It takes effort over a sustained period of time, months, okay? It doesn't have to be years, but months. Now, in order to get yourself to that point, energy is required, and that can come from a degree of dissatisfaction. Now, the problem with using dissatisfaction and pain as your main motivator is that it's going to wear you out. And, as Gunther Schmidt says, just increasing your dissatisfaction, the pain you feel, will increase your motivation, your willingness to change, but it doesn't increase your own experience of competence. In other words, you're going to feel weaker. You've had that plenty of times where you felt pretty shit about current life circumstances. I've had that when I was in the relationship with my ex-wife. I felt lonely while I was in the relationship. I felt pretty bad. But just because I felt bad didn't put me in a position to make a change. So that's not enough. And just increasing pain will at some point get you, Jesus Christ, to a point where you feel completely weak and you're taken out of your own power. So pain is important, but it only works to a certain extent. That's why the second element is pleasure, or in other words, a positive vision. You have to become crystal clear what your life would look like if you were able to achieve the desired result. Now, I hear it all the time from men that are like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to make that step, if I want to book a coaching, invest in myself. Just make that change happen, right? Find a girlfriend or life partner who's right for me. Now, a lot of those people, they simply can't imagine how amazing, how truly amazing a relationship with the right person can be, because they've made painful experiences in the past. They realize that being in a relationship with the wrong person is incredibly painful. And now they've wired Hebb's law, they called it. They've cells that fire together, wire together. They made an association in their brain. Relationship equals pain, so I'm trying to avoid that. Well, let me tell you something. That's mainly, one, because you weren't communicating properly, but second of all, because of a lack of compatibility. If you're in a relationship with the right woman, it's amazing. You have to use your imagination. If you want to be able to get yourself to the point where you can break through to finally get it handled, you have to use your imagination on how amazing this will actually be in your life. You have to see yourself going on holidays, holding her hand, getting married, having children. And in more detail, running up a hill with your children, with your partner, going skiing together, smiling at each other, whatever it is that you're into. Use your imagination and it'll naturally create more emotions, okay? And the third element that increases our motivation and our willingness to change is having a plan. Because You've been in that situation in your life. You're motivated to change. From a dissatisfaction point of view, you feel shit regarding your current circumstance, you're not happy with it, you would like something better, and you can very well imagine what it looks like, but you're missing the plan. You don't know the exact steps. That's why you have to have a plan or a proven system in order to make things happen. Mentors, coaches can help with that. Now, these are the things that increase our motivation, our willingness for change. Imagine it like a mathematical formula, okay? You have the stuff on top, you have the big line, and then you have whatever is in the bottom. I don't know the mathematical terms because English is my second language. But these three things on the top, dissatisfaction, positive vision, and the plan, the concrete next steps, they increase the probability that change is going to occur. Positive change, desired change, because undesired change is always going to occur naturally because things in life never stay the same. Your happiness in life, the quality of your life in terms of dating and relationship, they never stay the same. If you're not making progress for things to go better, they deteriorate. It only seems like it in the short term that things stay the same. But if you're not actually working on a certain area in your life, it's deteriorating. That's the nature of life. Okay? Now, what's against change? Your perceived cost of change. Okay? It's either the fact that one of those three isn't high enough, or the fact that your perceived cost of change is too high. In other words, the cost that you assume of making that change is too high. In other words, people want to stop smoking, okay? But the withdrawal symptoms they're imagining are too painful in their imagination, because it's always perceived, it's never real, so they never actually make the step. Or people want to find a girlfriend or a life partner, but the idea of getting rejected by a woman is so painful to them that they're never willing to take the first steps that would actually get them there. And they're ignoring the fact that the hardest thing to do is just the first couple of seconds, committing yourself to the process, and the rest, I don't want to say it flows automatically because sustained effort is required over a certain period of time, but for sure the hardest thing is always the first. You know that. You've had that in other areas in your life where you overcame a challenge. Could be in your career, in your business, health. The first step, getting yourself to start, was always the hardest thing. Now, how do we work with all of that? We can increase pain to a certain extent. We can become aware. You could ask yourself, where is it going to lead me if I don't get this fixed? You could ask yourself, what are the benefits? How amazing could my life be when I do have it? And then don't limit yourself in your creativity. It's like, we're going to have fights anyway. We have to have compromises anyway. I was in a taxi today speaking to a taxi driver, and I asked him, do you have a family already? He says, no headache yet. So he wants a family, he wants children, but he actually called it, no, I don't have that headache yet. He was a really positive guy, really good dude. But I reflected back to him, I said, look, I think it's very dangerous to label something that you actually want to have in your life as something that's going to cause you a headache. Because if it's going to cause you more pain, a part of you is going to engage in quite dramatic behavior to avoid that if you label it to be a pain. Okay? He couldn't even, probably, I know where it comes from, right? Like people like those, they see other people in their life who are in very unhappy relationships who talk about their partner or their family in a way that's negative. It's a headache. What? It's the most beautiful thing. If that's what you want, it can be the most beautiful thing if it's with the right person. You just got to use your imagination, and I encourage you as well to go looking in your immediate or extended environment for people who actually do have a happy relationship. Now, there's not that many of them, but they actually exist. I would actually encourage you to look around. Ignore most of the people, because most of the people are in really unhappy relationships because they've never learned compatibility and communication. But there are some people who are in really happy relationships. I'd encourage you to look at them. See the way they interact. They've been together for 20, 30 years, and they're still like that spark and that fire in their eyes. The way they interact with their children. On the other hand, people who are in very bad relationships, they yell at their children for dropping the butter in the supermarket or for breaking a bottle of wine in the supermarket. If you get mad as a parent for a child dropping something in the supermarket, then you have other areas where you're greatly dissatisfied in your life, okay? I've had experiences like that as well. If parents aren't happy with each other, that produces stress and anger in us. And that stress and anger has to be released in some kind of form. And if you don't release it by solving the issue, you might actually end up yelling at your kids, or even just being like really impatient with your children. That manifests in your life, okay? Now, the last thing that you can do, obviously the plan, That's what I'm here for. Apply for a first free coaching call if you want to learn how to do that, and we'll design that step-by-step plan for you, with you, based on your individual situation. That's the plan part. But the perceived cost of change, you have to come to realize that the perceived cost of change is always only the perceived cost of change. Maybe at some point in your life, you made a decision to lose weight, to start doing sports. Maybe there was any area of your life. And pick any area of your life where you had an issue, where you had an obstacle, and you weren't quite sure if you wanted to change, but it took you quite some time to actually make that change. I would bet that you changed the imagination of how bad it's going to be in your mind. In other words, some people, they feel really uncomfortable at the thought of going to the gym because people might judge them. They imagine it to be incredibly uncomfortable and painful. Okay, they have to get changed. There's this whole process. It's so overly complicated. Okay, macros, micros, nutrition, blah. It's too much. They blow it up to be this crazy big and insurmountable obstacle in their own head. And obviously, if you blow it up like that, and you're this small, and the obstacle is this small, speaking in terms of neuro-linguistic programming, internal representation, yeah, obviously you're not going to be motivated to fucking conquer that. That's a natural thing to do. Okay? So change your association to how painful it's going to be if you do it or not. So, if you want to learn how you can put that formula of change into practice for yourself, if you want to find a girlfriend or a life partner who's right for you, apply for a first free coaching call with the link under this profile. And as I said, we'll design a step-by-step plan with you on your individual situation, based on your individual situation, because everybody has their own sticking points, blind spots, mindset problems. You got to keep in mind, right? We can't think ourselves out of our own way of thinking. We always need external input. It doesn't have to be mine. But the biggest changes that I made in my life, be it business, be it relationships, health, always came because I had role models or coaches. Okay? I'm looking forward to speaking with you.